Today we are going to be escaping a bedrock prison that has been put all the way at the very top build limit of the map. So we have got to go through a bunch of puzzles and reach the ground, but not only that, we have to reach a specific target area. So we can't just go anywhere. We have to get to this target area on the ground. Also, there's a couple of rules. We can't break honey blocks and we can't break ladders. So are we going to be able to escape? Let's find out. Now also guys, I'm curious, how many of you know the mob that this egg spawns? Comment down below and I'll reveal the answer in next video. And also while you're at it, be sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video. If I don't know, you're hoping for no school next week. Wouldn't that be awesome? But let's hop into it. So once I hopped onto the map here, I was in this, usual bedrock prison type thing, except I was way up in the sky, obviously. So I started jumping around and noticed that there was a wooden block that was blocking some water behind me. And then I also had spotted that there was a chest below me. However, it was just out of reach. I could not open it as much as I tried. So I knew that I would have to reach that later. But yeah, that block of water with the wooden block behind it was pretty interesting. I also checked around to see if there are any item frames with hidden items on this initial bedrock prison, but I didn't find anything. So yeah, I knew that I had to reach the chest next. Decided to jump over to this bedrock block because I could probably get back. I also tried to see if I could just open it from here, and I couldn't. And then I checked around and no items on this bedrock block. So I figured I'd probably have to just jump on down there. A little bit risky, but once I opened it up, I got some fire charges, a dispenser, and also a button. Now that's very peculiar because there's a wooden block. And if I use the fire charges in the dispenser, I can light that block on fire to release the water. However, where was I going to put the dispenser? If I put it on here, it would just face downwards. If I put it on the side right here, it wouldn't be quite high enough. It still could maybe hit it, but I figured this block right over here was the safest bet because it's at the same exact height. So put the fire charges in, put the button, and then started firing some of them. It's not very accurate, but eventually I did get part of it to catch on fire. And then once the wood block disappeared, a waterfall came out. So obviously gotta jump in the waterfall. Made sure to check the top to see if any items were there. Nothing was up there. So obviously I had to go down to these new sections that I just discovered. Oddly enough, there was a cobweb over at this spot, which would obviously break my fall. So possibly I could reach that room, but I also made sure to check around here to see if there was anything. Nope, nothing at all. There was seemingly nothing on top of this other room either, and if I jumped over there, I probably wouldn't be able to get back. So with that being said, I knew I had to jump into the cobweb. I went up to the top of the waterfall and just made the leap and had to adjust. I almost went too far, but I landed in it and was completely safe. So now we've noticed that there's a chest here and a block down that's floating. Usually that means we got to go there, but we got to figure out a way to reach that. There was a glass block over in this spot, and then I looked around back and found some ladders. Not only that, there was also a second glass block above me, so now we've got two. Now I had to do a little bit of risky parkour in order to get onto the ladder, which then showed me that there was even more ladders on the other side. Remember, we can't break these. That is one of the rules. But after a bit of risky parkour, we made it to the top and found a third glass block. Now that was everything I could find inside of this room, so I broke the cobweb and then made the jump over to this chest, which was a little bit scary, but we made it easily enough. And inside of that chest was a slime block and also a bow. And of course, got to make sure to grab the chest as well. So now we've got 5 blocks to build with, which is pretty useful. I then jumped down to this block right here and noticed another ledge on the other side. No other blocks around me, so I decided to place one of my glass blocks in order to jump up to that ledge, which then allowed me to get to the brand new room. Now inside of this room, there wasn't anything that I could find. However, there was a very peculiar gap over on the other side. There was a block down there and then a ledge very specifically placed. So at this point, I knew that the only way I could reach that ledge was by using a slime block and making a really MLG jump. So fingers crossed, I went for it, spammed the button, and made the jump perfectly. Now I was left with this very peculiar... Oh, and yeah, I also found an arrow right on that side. But yeah, there was a good amount of space between those honey blocks, which I could get on the side of, but obviously I'd have to jump over there. So I placed a glass block. I figured glass blocks are better because I wouldn't be able to get these back anyways. The chest I could get back, so I saved that for later. But yeah, I made the first jump, then placed the second block, and was able to easily jump over to the honey. Just like that, easy peasy. Now I was all the way at the next section, which was probably the most interesting part of the map. We had this like parkour area over here. I didn't want to go through that quite yet. It seemed like these other areas were easier to get to. And oddly enough, there was this track for mine carts, and it clearly clearly looked like that is how we were going to get down to the next area. So I decided to leave the minecart tracks and then jump over to this block, and I noticed that there was seemingly an obsidian block over on the other side. But yeah, decided to go over to this room because it was easy to get to, and there were 3 different sections, one with a bunch of the glowberry vines, a lava room, and then a little parkour area. I also looked up and found a wooden block with a lantern hanging from it. Definitely something we need to get to later, but we didn't have enough blocks to actually build up there quite yet. So first things first, I decided to check out the lava room. It seemed like the smart choice at the time, I guess. After a little bit of parkour and checking all the lava for secret chests, I made it to the end of the room where there was a dead end and a sign that says to subscribe. Wow. But I mean, again, guys, you know what the sign says. Be sure to subscribe if you're here. At least I thought at the time. So I then went all the way back to the beginning and decided to try the glass parkour next. It seemed easy enough. Also checked around to see if there was any other items, but then just decided to go through the parkour, and there was a diamond at the end of it. A very peculiar item. Now then, once I made my way back, I spotted a button on the side of the lava room. A very oddly placed button. I tried to see if I could press it. It was just out of my reach. However, I did have my bow and arrow still. Just one arrow, so I had to make sure it hit. And just like that, it pressed the button and spawned a sand block, as well as made a peculiar piston sound. So now I've got a sand block and a chest. Still really not enough to reach the wood block. So that left me with one final section, the vine section. Now I saw a ledge at the very end, so I decided to just jump for it. And easily enough, we made it through. And I found another diamond and also a trap door. So clearly we got to do something with these diamonds, but I thought it could maybe have to do with that obsidian block. If we find one more diamond, we could possibly make a pickaxe to break it. However, I did have to get back from this section. I thought about maybe building up, but that would just waste blocks. But if I go all the way to the end of the vines, I could then possibly make it back. I'd need to place a block to bridge the gap so I don't just fall off. And I figured the trapdoor was probably the safest way to do it, especially since I got it in this section. So I slowly went down, placed the trapdoor, and that was the perfect amount for me to reach back to the main area. Also tried to get it back, but nope, it decided to fly away. But yeah, I still don't have enough blocks to reach the wood block. At this point, I was wondering what exactly I missed. Was there anything outside? At least not right now that I'd need, right? And then I remembered the piston sound, so I decided to go back and check, and lo and behold, a secret room opened up. And inside of that room on the ceiling was a third diamond and a wood block. Nope, it was actually a crafting table. But yes, this was perfect. Now I had just enough items to place on the ground and build up a little tower where I could first reach the lantern. That took a while to break. But once I got the lantern, I had to restructure the tower because you can't place lanterns on top of chests, I found out. But then with all 4 of those items placed, I had just enough height to then reach the wooden log. So at this point, I was feeling pretty confident. I broke down all of the other blocks and then decided to make my way over to this other parkour area. It was easy enough to get to. I mean, I'm an expert at parkour. You guys know that. And then after another fun jumping through the vines, that's always amazing, I made it over to the block that was in fact made out of obsidian. So at this point, obviously I gotta mine that obsidian. Although actually now I'm realizing that my friend probably made a mistake on this map. You'll see why later. But obviously I figured that I probably needed the obsidian, right? I didn't want to just leave it there. But either way, there were still some ladders on the side that I was able to use to get up to the very top. Now at this point, I just looked around and then found a minecart, which is exactly what we needed to get through the minecart section. Now I thought about putting it right at the end, but I figured that going back here would give me enough speed to actually make it just in case something messed up. But now that I've explored everything, I went on the minecart ride and it was honestly quite a bit of fun. Just like that, we made it to the end. Now here's the part where I think my friend messed up a little bit. I obviously had to make it over to that ladder by placing all of the blocks I had left, but I think my buddy forgot to notice that if I just crafted the log and kept it as 4 wooden planks, I would have been able to make it over there a lot easier. But at the time, I obviously didn't know that, so I had to make sure to grab the obsidian. Either way, still was just enough to make it over there perfectly. And now we were at the final room. There was a weird opening with this glass tower leading down to the target, and also there was an opening on the side of this bedrock room. Decided to fall on down there, and then also discovered an ender pearl sitting in this hidden little spot. Now I couldn't throw the ender pearl just right down. It was covered by glass, so I had to throw it inside of here and hope that it worked, and I actually just barely made it. And just like that, we reached the top target all the way at the bottom of the map, and we completed it. So there you have it, guys. That was the build limit prison and how I escaped it. So be sure to subscribe if you're new around here for more prison escapes, and also check out some of my previous videos on the screen right now. Got some really fun ones that I think you guys will enjoy. But again, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.